Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder and provide live commentary as I go, as we're just going to jump right onto the ladder from where we left off, currently sitting at a rating of 1806. Of course, we are featuring Danny Hemchan's team, also known as Jabberwocky. We've had two really great episodes already with the team, so if you have not seen the last two episodes, and especially that last one, the second game in the last one's definitely the best game we've had so far. Definitely check it out. We find Wolf from Japan with a rating of 1829 to kick today off. And as always, if you enjoy Road to Rank, please share your support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. Wolf here is rocking a team of Kangaskhan, Sylveon, Cresselia, Heatran, Landorus, and Amoonguss. So pretty standard looking team. 1 Mega Evolution in Kangaskhan. Definite Trick Room kind of aspect with the Cresselia, the Amoonguss, the Heatran, the Sylveon. Kangaskhan could definitely be built more slowly as well to, make more room for the Trick Room. So, definitely a difficult matchup. I don't think this team likes playing against Trick Room too much. Let's see. The Landorus Kangaskhan mirror matchup is always incredibly annoying. It's actually one reason why I personally don't like to use Kangaskhan and Landorus very much, just because I don't like dealing with mirror matches, especially when you have to deal with like who's faster, who's slower, flinch chances, all that jazz. So, not particularly fun. I think denying Trick Room is going to be incredibly difficult in this match as well, so I might have to play around that. The Amoonguss looks like it can also cause some major issues, so I'm trying to see how we can play around it. I mean, Volcarona can honestly be pretty decent, since Sylveon can't really touch it. Amoonguss can't really do too much to it. Cresselia can't do too much to it. But the thing is, Heatran is probably the biggest concern. And I feel like my opponent's going to want to try to set up Trick Room pretty early on. I could lead with Kangaskhan and Aegislash. That makes the most sense, just because Aegislash is a really big threat against the Cresselia. Now, one fun play I could make is actually power up punch myself in Scrappy form and get the Shadow Ball off against Cresselia to deny Trick Room outright. I might actually do that, just because that's my only real way of knocking out the Cresselia in one hit. So I like King Aegislash as my leads. I think I like Rotom Wash in the back. For the last one, it's between Landorus. The Volcarona and Togekiss also are really strong, I think, in this. Part of me actually wants Volcarona just to counter the Amoonguss a bit better. But I still like Landorus just because it intimidates Kangaskhan and I can Earthquake, and 4 of his 6 Pokemon can't deal with Earthquake very well. So you know what, I'm going to go with Volcarona. I feel like part of the reason why I haven't brought Volcarona so far with this team is also just like comfort level, which is something I need to improve on as we go on throughout the week, just because I have never really used Volcarona in VGC 2015. I played a couple of games off screen and it did a lot of work in one game that I didn't end up recording, but I still need to be a bit more comfortable. But I don't know, to me this doesn't feel like the best game for Volcarona to come in with. But I'm going to go with Kangaskhan and Aegislash here, so my opponent goes with Kangaskhan and Cresselia. So, I could go for that power-up punch play, but he might just fake out my Kangaskhan. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for him to fake out Kangaskhan, though then he has to risk the speed tie. And I just realized I'm not carrying power-up punch, I totally forgot about that, but I could low-kick myself. And then activate the weakness policy. Let's see. Part of me really wants to just go for it. But then the issue in that lies that if he doesn't fake out Kangaskhan, he's probably going to be going for a really powerful attack against me, and then I'm not going to be able to take that very well. So you know what, I think I'm just going to make the safer play turn 1, just fake out the Cresselia and Shadow Ball it. We'll see what he does. Okay, so my Kangaskhan Mega Evolves first. That's good if it means I get the fake out off first. Of course, we could speed time, not entirely sure, but like I said, it would make sense for his Kangaskhan to be on the slower spectrum, just because his entire team looks more Trick Roomy. So he also Mega Evolves, meaning he didn't go for the Scrappy fake out onto Aegislash, meaning he probably went for a low kick power up punch or double edge onto my Kangaskhan. But if anything, this denies his Cresselia from setting up Trick Room. It also potentially helps me from denying it the following turn. He doesn't have Rocky Helmet. He does go for the fake out onto my Kangaskhan. Okay, so that's good. That does a lot of damage. Probably an admin Kangaskhan as opposed to Jolly. But more importantly, I'm going to be able to deny Cresselia from setting up Trick Room and get a free Shadow Ball off, which is fantastic for me here. So that does a lot of damage. Unfortunately, not quite enough. Does proc the Citrus Berry there. Not much of a surprise to see Citrus Berry. I think it should be in double edge KO range at this point, which is good for me. Though I'm more tempted to go for the low kick onto Kangaskhan. Let's see. Based off my opponent's team, he's probably got Heatran hiding in the back, maybe Amoonguss. The Landorus deals with those decently well. I mean, the King Shield is so obvious from Aegislash here, I feel like he's not going to target it down, so I could make a even ballsier play, go for the low kick onto Kang, and just go for a Shadow Ball into Cresselia. But the question is, do I really want to make that prediction and risk it? I feel like it might be a bit better to play safer. I could also just go straight for the double edge onto Cresselia. But I don't know, I have a really strong feeling he's not going to Sucker Punch me, so I'm just going to go for the Shadow Ball here. Oh, he withdraws it, which is even better. So whatever is coming in is obviously going to be taking some damage, though it is going to be that Sylveon, so it could switch on my opponent's end there. So low kick, unfortunately not going to do very much against the Sylveon, but free damage is always damage, and that was a critical hit. A double critical hit. Wow, I've never gotten a double critical hit, and there could not have been a more useless time to get a double crit there. But more importantly, I do make the right prediction in assuming he's not going to target Aegislash with a Sucker Punch. So I do manage to knock out Cresselia successfully, denying him from setting up Trick Room for the remainder of this match, which is great. And I'm very, very happy to see Heatran come out for my opponent here, so this is fantastic. He does have Air Bloom, but that's fine. Kangaskhan matches up very, very nicely at this point in the game. So let's see, I could go for the double edge onto Sylveon. I could also just low kick Heatran. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to low kick Heatran and just go for the wide guard here. With Landorus in the back, I feel pretty confident of my chances of winning this game, but I don't know, perhaps I could have made a bit safer of a play here. He doesn't protect though, so low kick, let's see how much if it's enough to knock out Heatran. Pops the Air Balloon, picks up the one-hit KO, excellent. So that's why players like to use low kick over something like Power Up Punch. Sylveon here, gonna go for the Hyper Voice, and that is going to not do anything because of the wide guard. So that is as good of a turn as I could have asked for, and I'm very, very pleased right now. He's gonna bring the Kangaskhan back in. But things are looking pretty solid for me right now. So let's see. Because I wide guarded, I can't just King Shield freely here, which is slightly concerning. But I guess I could just wide guard once again. Yeah, I'll just double edge and wide guard. I'm guessing he specs Sylveon. Just based off team composition, it would make a lot of sense. And it's not like Sylveon can do very much otherwise. Besides Landorus in the back, I feel pretty good with my chances of winning. He doesn't even go for the fake out, which is pretty interesting. So I do get the double edge off, and that just picks up the knockout onto Sylveon right away, which is perfect. And should be a pretty clean win for me here. A relatively quick game as well, but we'll see what his Kangaskhan goes for. Maybe a Power Up Punch. Nope, going to be that low kick into the Kangaskhan slot. So that's going to be able to pick up the knockout, but then now I just bring in Landorus and I can just superpower freely. So this game played out even better than I expected it to. I was really scared of the Amoonguss, but I decided it wasn't worth bringing Volcarona or Togekiss because I could rely on the other four to beat my opponent's team. And I guess what really caught me off guard was that Kangaskhan attack right from the start because he chose to fake out my Kangaskhan, meaning it allowed me to get a free Shadow Ball off. In retrospect, there wasn't much he could have done, but if he were in Scrappy form, he could have went for the fake out onto my Aegislash, denying me from a turn 1 Shadow Ball. And then the second turn, knocking out Cresselia before Trick Room went up was really what helped me win the game. So, you know, sometimes you need to make those riskier predictions in the beginning of the game, but they can carry you a long way. So, I mean, I'll just play it safe, go for the superpower, and switch out into Rotom Wash. Just because, you know, Aegislash doesn't want to get knocked out by a Sucker Punch. But I mean, at this point, there's literally nothing my opponent can do to win the game. He's going to Sucker Punch, that's going to fail. Landorus is going to be able to get this superpower off. Choice Scarf, normally not able to knock out the Kangaskhan. Surprisingly, did pick up the knockout there, but I guess a critical hit to seal things up. So, 3 useless crits in this game, 2 on the Sylveon, and then 1 on the Landorus here. Or Kangaskhan, excuse me. Though I guess the crits on Sylveon could have potentially helped since the double edge was able to knock out, but most Sylveons aren't invested to survive double edges, mainly to survive returns. But we pick up a pretty clean win in the first game of today's episode, and that's always pleasing. My opponent definitely had a really strong team, obviously skill too based off his rating, so you always got to feel pretty good coming out of the games like those where you win pretty cleanly. If anything though, I think Kangaskhan Aegislash just completely helped me in the lead matchup. If my opponent led with something like Heatran or Landorus, I would have been in a considerably worse position, but I figured that he would decide to bring Cresselia. Cresselia is one of those Pokemon where you like to lead with a lot of the times just because it's so naturally bulky, and a lot of players don't like to lead to beat the Cresselia. And I figured if I led with anything else and my opponent led with Cresselia, Trick Room would have surely gone up. So it was my one option of stopping the Trick Room, unfortunately, and it worked. We find a 1793 rated player from Japan for our next opponent of the day with a very familiar team. This is, of course, the Sand team, originally built by a Japanese player in the Japan Cup, let a lot of players, including myself, adapted. Of course, I did use this team for the last couple of weeks on Road to Ranked, you know, before I went off for vacation and one episode after I got back. But, you know, a lot of players like to have their own spin on this team, so I'm not entirely sure how my opponent's built to here. But you should, you know, expect when you see this kind of team, Hyper Voice, Mega Salamence, you know, Tyranitar with Choice Scarf, Mungus with Rocky Helmet, fast occasionally, Rotom Wash with Citrus Berry, Weakness Policy / Life Orb, Aegislash, and then Focus Sash, Excadrill. So that's kind of what to be expected. Landorus, he does fare incredibly well against his team, but the Aegislash, of course, does have a chance of carrying Wide Guard. Not does have a chance, it's a very, probably will be using it, so I'm going to have to watch out for that. Let's see. Once again, Volcarona, not the best Pokemon to bring in this matchup in which my opponent has 2 Rock Slide users and a Hyper Voice user. He's probably going to want to keep that on the bench. Togekiss can be decent. I feel like setting up Tailwind can actually help me a fantastic amount in this game. Let's see. I feel like he's probably going to want to lead with Rotom Wash, expecting me to lead with Landorus. Rotom Wash Amoonguss is actually a very solid lead for my opponent, I think. I guess I could counter that by going Kangaskhan Togekiss with Aegislash in the back, and perhaps Rotom in my last one. Actually, I think my Rotom is a really good Pokemon in this match, just because of its ability to HP Ice to knock out the Salamence, and then Hydro Pump to do massive amounts of damage. The real thing is, I feel a bit weird not bringing Aegislash in this match, because I think Aegislash is really good, especially given that he'll surely be using a super effective attack. So maybe Kangaskhan Aegislash is a bit better with Landorus and Rotom in the back. While I do like Togekiss, he's just weak to 3 Pokemon on my opponent's team. The double Rock Slide from Tyranitar and Excadrill, and then the Thunderbolt from Rotom as well. I'd use it, but I don't like relying on the flinch chance of Air Slash, and it's not like Tailwind is incredibly necessary in this game. I don't mind knowing that Tyranitar and Excadrill are slightly faster, and of course, I have Scarf on my Tyranitar, or my Excadrill, or my Landorus, excuse me, so it'll allow him to outspeed his Tyranitar. He does end up going with Rotom Wash and Excadrill, so I'm pretty pleased that I did not lead with the Togekiss, which I originally was intending to do with. So this first one I can go safely for the Fake Out onto Rotom and the Wide Guard, but I suspect he's going to switch out the Aegislash here. So I kind of want to Flash Cannon it or Shadow Ball it. And I feel like he's going to protect Rotom here, because I could Fake Out Shadow Ball Rotom, but that's a relatively obvious play. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to go for the Fake Out onto Rotom. So if I Shadow Ball, I'll hit Aegislash, Rotom, or Salamence, Amoonguss, all for good damage, and Excadrill. The only fear is if he switches in the Tyranitar, I guess. But I could also low kick the Excadrill slot. But I think I'll play it safe this first turn. Actually, I really think he's going to protect Rotom. So, you know what? I'm going to low kick and Shadow Ball that slot. So whatever comes in is going to be taking a beating. He does switch it out as I predicted. So let's see if Tyranitar makes the switch in as I anticipated. Nope, going to be Amoonguss, unfortunately. Does Rotom protect here? It would only make sense for it to protect, but he's going to make me look really silly if he doesn't protect. I guess Double Edge into that slot might have actually been a better play, but I really like the switch into Amoonguss from my opponent here. And he doesn't protect, so I do look like quite the fool here, as low kick not going to do anything, and I'm going to be taking the Rocky Helmet damage as well. Yeah, I guess I overextended on that prediction, quite honestly. I really thought Tyranitar might have been coming in here. Maybe he didn't even bring Tyranitar then, because you'd expect him to have brought in the Mega Salamence in the back. So, fantastic play by my opponent this first turn to just get free damage off. No Will-O-Wisp onto the Kangaskhan, instead targeting the Aegislash just with a Thunderbolt immediately. Oh, that Shadow Ball must have been a critical hit, yeah. So I get a pretty lucky crit there to put him in Double Edge KO range. Let's see. Yeah, so that was a really fortunate turn for me there. Instead, if I just went for the Fake Out on a Rotom Wash and the Shadow Ball, would have been a much better position since I wouldn't have taken any damage. But, it is what it is. I end up coming up relatively positive anyway. But I do realize now that I don't have a great way to beat the Rotom Wash, so I'm going to want to aggressively target that down. I think I'm just going to Double Edge here into it, no, I could Double Edge the Amoonguss. No, I think I'll still Double Edge Rotom and Shadow Ball Amoonguss here, because he's probably anticipating me to King Shield here with Aegislash. So as you see, I do like to play very, very aggressively with Aegislash. Sometimes it might cost me, but in that last game, the reason why I won the game, I think, was because that one turn where my opponent wasn't expecting me to get that offense off, I did end up getting a lot of damage off to knock out the Cresselia, and sometimes you just need to make those plays, but we'll see how it works out here. Also not sure how fast my opponent's Amoonguss is. He might be able to Spore me before anything. He does protect with the Rotom, so if my Aegislash is faster, this works out in my favor, but we'll see. Oh, he makes a double protect play. Interesting. So this allows me to play the next turn with relative confidence. Surprised he went for that, but just to scout out what I would go for, I guess, and that makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to go for the Double Edge here onto the Amoonguss slot. Part of me wants to switch out Edge Slash, but I could also just King Shield here. Now I didn't King Shield last turn, so he might think I'm gonna King Shield this turn, so I could go for yet another Shadow Ball. Oh, the plays. I really want to. Yeah, I'm gonna do it because oh, he switches out Among Us, which is a really good play. Maybe Excadrill coming back in. Nope, gonna be Salamence. Okay, so he didn't bring Tyranitar in this match, which is really interesting, meaning that I'll be able to outspeed him. We'll see what Rotom Wash does here, though. So I didn't King Shield here, hoping that he would not target down Aegis Slash. Double Edge here still does a fantastic amount of damage against that Salamence. Might actually be in Sucker Punch KO range after I reset the Intimidate. Oh, he goes for the Thunder Wave onto Aegis Slash. So he was expecting the King Shield there, obviously, but I didn't go for it. Hopefully no full paralysis here. I do get the Shadow Ball off, which is excellent. So I'm really, really happy about that. It does over 50%. So yeah, I mean, the Rotom Wash that I used was Will-O-Wisp, but the original team I believe had Thunder Wave, which is, you know, obviously a really, really good move. But now I'm very pleased about the position I'm in, obviously because I didn't take damage with Aegis Slash. He could have knocked me out with a Thunderbolt, but I figured he would go for a Will-O-Wisp or a Thunder Wave, or maybe target down Kangaskhan. So I come out with the turn pretty clean. I kind of want to switch Kang out here. Let's see. He might Thunder Wave. I mean, I think the play for him to make is to protect Salamence and Thunder Wave Kangaskhan. You know what? I like double edging the Rotom here. And switching out into Landorus. Yeah. This way, if Kangaskhan goes down, then I'm able to Rock Slide away. Because at this point, you know, Scarf Landorus outspeeds his Salamence. He doesn't have a way to knock me out this turn. So I can Rock Slide to knock it out. If I feign from Double Edge because he chooses a Hyper Voice here, then I get a free switch into my Rotom Wash, which is even better with me, since I am a very speedy Rotom. So, Salamence does Mega Evolve here, meaning he does get the speed boost. He makes him a fantastic play. He does not protect with Salamence, which is what I was fearing here. I do get a Double Edge off, so both of his Pokemon are in Rock Slide KO range, but we'll most likely see a Hyper Voice come out here. Yep, Hyper Voice is launched. Now, let's see if my opponent made a good play and went for the Hydro Pump onto Landorus, because that would really, really screw me up. Nope, he makes the Thunderbolt. Perfect. Okay, so that's exactly what I was hoping for, and this puts me in a pretty darn good position. Let's see, who do I want to switch in? I'll bring in Rotom here. Yeah, so with all his Pokemon in the back heavily damaged as well, things are looking pretty solid. I'm just going to go for the Rock Slide here. The question is, who do I predict the switch out? So I get free turn of damage here. He can switch into either Among Us or the Excadrill. So I guess I'll Hydro Pump since Among Us is really heavily damaged at this point. And with Life Orb, you know, it'll add up as well. I suspect you'll switch Salamence out if anything, so I'll Rock Slide here. Though he might protect and sack the Rotom and then get a free switch into Lamungus as well. Regardless, though, getting in Scarf Landorus here was really, really good. But credits to my opponent for making that really good play and not protecting with Salamence. You know, I think that's the case you see here as both of us make these plays. Not protecting your Pokemon when your opponent anticipates you to, and getting a lot of free damage off. Okay, so Salamence, the switch out here, is the Excadrill coming in. It is going to be Excadrill, so if Hydro Pump connects, that Excadrill is going down as Rotom protects, so things are looking really good. I did make the right prediction. Hopefully it pays off here. So Rock Slide here breaks any potential Focus Sash, fortunately does connect with Landorus. Of course, I am dealing with two relatively inaccurate moves, but let's see if Hydro Pump connects. Hydro Pump misses the Excadrill! Oh, that actually sets me back so much, because now he can protect his Excadrill, get a free switch into the Amoonguss. Oh, that is so frustrating. I would have had the game, I think, if I got that. But that's what I mean, you know, I'm dealing with inaccurate moves. So here I think he's going to sack the Rotom Wash. Wow, that is big. Because now he's going to be able to get an Amoonguss for free. And I could just Rock Slide Hydro Pump again. Part of me wants to switch. Actually, no. With Aegis Slash Paralyze in the back, I think I can use that to my advantage. So this turn, I'm just gonna knock out my opponent's Rotom slot. Though it might have been a bit better to double target that slot. Yeah, he switches out, which is a bit surprising. I don't like that play very much on my opponent's end, but oh wow, he didn't even protect with Excadrill. That's huge. So let's see if I can connect with Hydro Pump this time around. It does connect. Okay, great. So that knocks out the extra draw. My opponent was probably expecting me to switch out, anticipating him to go for the protect play, but actually works out in my favor. So I wasn't anticipating that, but I'll easily take that. And now, of course, with this Rotom and his Salamence in KO range, I can actually just HP Ice and Rock Slide. And that Amoonguss is probably more defensively bulky, so HP Ice should actually do a lot of damage, especially with the Life Orb boost. So really scary turn. I thought, you know, I still felt like I was slightly ahead after that last turn, but I was a bit upset just because of momentum. Like, if I got that knockout on Excadrill, he had no answer really for anything I could have done. But now Excadrill gets knocked out anyway, so I'm just going to go for the Hidden Power Ice onto the Amoonguss and the Rock side. He's probably not anticipating the HP Ice. He knows I'm Life Orb. He goes for the Protect with Rotom, which makes perfect sense. Probably trying to get a Spore off against Aegislash, or Landorus here. So Rock Slide actually misses the Amoonguss. That's huge. I needed that chip damage to knock it out, I think. HP Ice. Oh, it knocks out the Amoonguss anyway. Okay. So I was a bit scared there, but, you know, the thing was, Amoonguss on this kind of team, you know, when I ran basically max HP, almost max defense, some special defense, but this Rotom being very, very offensive, basically max special attack and Life Orb, that actually adds up, and that's why, like, Ice Beams with against my Amoonguss when I played with the team earlier on, actually, you know, it didn't take it very well. But now I'm up 3-2. As long as I don't miss Rock Slide, I've got this game won, so we'll see what can happen here, as Landorus, of course, is the fastest Pokemon on the field. Opponent decides to forfeit there. You know, that seems like it's been a pretty common trend, and one reason why I say you shouldn't forfeit is because your opponent can always misclick or misplay or run out of time or run from the battle. So, I don't know, there's always a chance that your opponent can mess up and choke or whatever, and in that kind of position, he actually had a decent shot at winning, as long as I missed the Rock Slide. I mean, if I missed the Rock Slide, I guess he had no way to beat the Rotom Wash as well. Which is why he forfeited, but I don't know. In those positions, I just feel like you should play it out, especially when it's the very end of the game. But great game to my opponent there. I feel like that first turn made me look really, really silly, but at the end I was able to manage to pull through. Mainly because he didn't go for the Will-O-Wisp against Kangaskhan, since he didn't have it actually, but even if he went for the Thunder Wave, it would have been really bad. Regardless, Kangaskhan was the real MVP of this match, you know, able to do so much damage to that Salamence, even after the Intimidate, able to do so much damage to Rotom, and to the Shadow Ball crit on Aegislash. From Aegislash on Amoonguss is relatively fortunate as well, of course. So, you know, RNG going both ways in that game, but ultimately I feel like, you know, the Pokemon choice was right, and I just ended up, you know, outplaying my opponent for the majority of the match, but he made some really, really good plays for as well. Like, in terms of plays, actually, I wouldn't say I outplayed my opponent, it was more 50-50, but just leads and opponents, I guess the team matchup was really heavily matched in my favor here, and, you know, having Landorus against Pokemon like Excadrill and, you know, being able to damage Salamence and Rotom Wash so much to put it in Rock Slide KO range was huge as well. But really fantastic episode for you guys today. This team has had some really fun runs and battles. So we're currently 6-1 with it, which is really exciting. So I'll like to see how the last couple of days close out, as we're actually slowly getting towards the 1900s, which is also really exciting. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode, guys. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed it like always, and I shall see you guys tomorrow. Alright, peace.